Hello and welcome to Enterprise Friday on Enterprise Television. It's a great way to head into the weekend with a good dose of good breakfast programming served here and here alone. I'm Choma Okohe.
And I am Henry Ikwebike.
And all right, we head straight into the newspaper headlines. And after that, it will be the main conversation. For the meantime, we invite you to have a say in what we say. You can reach us across all social media at Enterprise TV 7. You may like, share and subscribe to our pages. Please also visit our website at www.enterprisetvnews.com. With us in the studio to help us make sense of today's front page stories, from my left is Emeka Madnagro. He is a journalist and a public affairs commentator, and after him you see handsome Cyril Abako. He is a public affairs commentator too. Good morning, Cyril.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Thank God it's Friday.
And until today, I didn't know him.
Let's not go into that.
Beautiful. Let's start today with the first daily on our desk here, and it's coming from the Daily Trust newspaper. The big story: presidency to withdraw controversial tax reform bills. We have two writers to it. NEC demands more consultations. Proposed legislation not against North, and that's coming from Onanuga.
Okay, on the top strip of the Daily Trust newspaper, you have top bank executive on the probe coming from the Efcc.
And also, we have an interesting one here on the bottom strip. Criticism trail Ekiti lawmakers planned retreat to Canada.
Okay, moving on. We have not received any payment for petrol from marketers. That is coming from Dangote.
And also, Nigeria gets 2.8 billion naira from Google for A1 talent hunt.
Okay, moving on. Flood kills 321 in 34 states, affects 1.4 million people. And that will be the story we'll be starting with. At this point, I want to start with you, Emeka Madnago. The flood kills 321 in 34 states, affects 1.4 million people. Now, in a country that lacks data, can we particularly say that in 34 states, we can say 321 have lost their life, or maybe they are more than this, but they just have to put a figure to the number of deaths?
Well, I sympathize with the families of those who died. Whether they are 321 or lesser than that or more, it's a tragedy. One person, one life lost diminishes all of us.
True.
So, now, at this point, we shouldn't be battling with flooding, killing people. It should no longer be a problem. We have enough rivers that if we dredge them, can take all of this flooding away. Two, there's something the Osun River Basin Development Authority, adopted, which I think managers of dams across the country should do. They looked at it that if you just release water just around October, November, that the volume usually causes so much damage. So what do? Whenever their dam is getting to a point, the oil dam is getting to a point, then they release. They release every month. They release water on a monthly basis. So you would notice that they are releasing it when it peaks around October. But it will be better managed. Now, I think it brings us to the politics of dredging in Nigeria. The River Niger ought to have been dredged. Those in the lower delta who will actually benefit have refused. Leaders, political leaders, militants, and ex-militants or whatever, they have refused that the lower delta should be dredged, and which is a problem. Because that's what you see causing this flooding around River Niger. Whenever Cameroon, the Lado Dam in Cameroon, releases water, you now see River Niger, the River Niger grows, rise so high, and then flows into neighboring communities. A lot of people, for instance, in the Ukwane area, in Delta State, they have to flee their home. Right now, they are not in their homes. They fled their homes because those places are flooded. So, we need to be more, pragmatic. These things are killing people. These things are destroying homes. These things are flooding. Thank God that the governors, national executive, national,
emergency.
But yes, NEMA, and then the governors, National Economic Council, yesterday adopted flooding as an emergency, as a national emergency. So they should now call their people together to stop all these politics, dredge these rivers. They have a conversation with Cameroon. Don't just wait until the Lado Dam, gets to a point. Release this water on a regular basis. Then, governors, what are you doing with this resource, water? Like fella said, water no get enemy. You can actually turn the water into an economic resource that will create jobs for your people. But when you just sit by and just say, okay, live your home, so relocate to higher places, that's a lazy man's way of thinking. Because there are countries in this world that have actually been able to tame flooding. Yes, they've been able to tame flooding.
Yeah.
All right, so I will take a look at that. This is actually not peculiar to us. In Spain, in Valencia, right now, about 158 persons have been said to have lost their lives. More still trying to excavate more. So it's not actually peculiar to us. And for that of Spain, it still boils down to the same thing. It was communicated to them very late, and which could be equally the same reason. But so how do we check all of this? This is not. Yes.
There is no way Nigeria and Spain can be on the same footing.
Simple.
Let me say what I know. The Spanish people had the report said they had a year's worth of rain that fell in just
8 hours.
8 hours. Yes. So that one, you could say it's an act of God. Now I was discussing the same thing last year in a TV studio, and I said Nigeria has an ambassador to Cameroon. Now, let me say this. It's the best kept secret in the world, but it's open secret. That a nation's mission in another country isn't just there to foster good relations. They are your eyes and ears.
Yes.
They look for more than what is just visible to the eyes. They are there to listen and see and report back. I would just put it like that. So on the news, on the newsreels and newspapers, you would have been seeing them saying government to open land. They are supposed to be writing reports and sending back to Abuja. But in any case, like we are discussing earlier, the same problem happens almost every year, and we have no solution other than people should run to higher ground. Now I know that the matter is complicated. One time on Ikorodu Road in Lagos, the waters rose so high, but Class Junction called Unity, I think I was passing, and I had to go back. I got the cameraman. We went there. The argument is that people have built houses on drainage, channels, and water parts. But even that is a lame excuse. Isn't that when they have government in the first place? So they will sit in and fold their arms. If you want to build a house on a land you bought, they will come and put.
Which they don't fail to do.
But the one that people are building on drainage channels have been built and erected. Who is to blame? The real fault is on part of government. So now, like you countries have conquered flooding, they've conquered the environment. You are the only ones who are not willing and ready to do the hard work. The hard part is the best part. We must sit down. A state has a university. If the university, the school I attended, now it's called University. It was the nation's first university of science and tech. I mean, by such a name. And for a long time, it was the only school that had a degree in marine engineering. You need to learn that in a country that has universities, after over 50 years, people are awarded BScs, Masters, PhDs. We have no solution to any problem. So what is the university system there for? And they are just going to strike every year. I think the time has come for leadership to be serious enough to sit down and ask the hard questions and look for answers to them. It is not like the money flooding happen. Now the figure is 321. I agree. This may just be very conservative number. But people have died. Those who are making like 1.4 million, they become homeless. They've lost livelihoods. They all kinds of. It is not enough to declare an emergency. What we are good at doing is all the things we can say that are good to say, we say them. But when it comes to putting the real hand to the plow, we're not there.
No, you know the thing. The hand to the plow is actually give them rice.
Identification
Give them rights.
intervention.
They have fraud problem. Give them rights.
And actually, that
Give them.
There was even one phenomenon that the news came out and they said that you deliver cooked food. I felt that was dehumanizing. You want to deliver cooked food? What was that? Are we in communist North Korea? What? So the food could go bad along the way. We don't know. But somebody came to give you cooked food to eat. How this you got that bad?
Well, so
I made it to national news platform.
What about the wife of the governor who was giving 1,000 naira?
all right, so while we dwell on that particular story, and of course, getting inundated on issues around Nigeria, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper, and we have the big story here. I think let's leave the big story. We're going to be discussing about that, but let's get to other areas of the Guardian newspaper. It says here, Rivers NLC threatened shut down as Wabara, a PDP coalition, warn of crisis escalation.
Okay, moving on. Our relationship must be win-win. Tinubu tells France, China, Denmark. Details are on page 3.
And also we have prescription. Appeal court reserves a judgment on IPOB's appeal.
We're moving on. Mass adjourns plenary abruptly as NEC advises immediate withdrawal.
And also we have government media are partners in nation building, says information minister at last. At last.
Okay, let's get to the big story here. From third world to superpower. How to lift millions from poverty to prosperity via local initiatives.
And I think it's very important that we note here two important figures here, but of course the disparity is actually very far. Modi of India and Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria. Gentlemen, let's have a discussion here. India used to be a country. In fact, there used to be a time when it was said that it had the highest number of very impoverished people. Nigeria has taken over that particular spot. Now, India has seen itself grow beyond recognition to other nations of the world. Is there something we can learn from these people? Let me start from you, Mekaman.
Let me tell you, poverty is local. Politics is local. So there are no universal laws to dealing with poverty other than just one law, inclusivity. Let the market be open for everybody to participate.
Yes.
Then turn extraction into innovation. Just extracting and selling resources will not take you anywhere. It will only limit your capability. So what it means is when you determine what quantity of resources, natural resources should be given to each, or even whatever funds from the federal government, from the state should be given to each place based on tribe and all of that. You limit the capacity of society to, to perform beyond its own expectations. And that's where we have a problem. India has a bigger population, than Nigeria. They are pushing very, very far. Their population is increasing. But
billion plus.
You see, Nigeria, we had the former President Muhammad Buhari saying that Nigeria's population is too big. We must do something about it. When your population is actually supposed to be an asset. Just take agriculture, for instance. That was the main contributor to GDP for more than 15 years. Do you know how many hands? If you upscale your agriculture, in Nigeria, and then what you do, you go to a place like Benue, you set up micro agro processing plants. So as the tomatoes and things like that are coming out, you process them. So you're not taking them in their own state, whereby if you're going to anywhere, they can get spoiled on the way. But what you do is that you convert them into different things. So value addition, is so much. When you do that, what you're doing is that you're dealing with rural poverty. Because we don't talk too much about rural poverty. That's the major problem in Nigeria. You are here, you are in Lagos, you're working, you are thinking of sending money to your parents back in the village. But if there are economic factors driving, prosperity around that, place, you find out that, even when you send money to them, it will just be additional to what naturally accrues to them. So that's why I say the local government system must be made to work better. Then we must localize development initiatives. Otherwise, if we say we are copying from India, then it's just a lie. Nigerian politicians just want money to steal. Look at the people in Ekiti Assembly. They want to go to Canada. That's how Northern governors said they are looking for a solution to insecurity. They went to the US. It's all this. We play around too much in this country.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you see the Asian tigers and how they were born. I agree with Emeka. Was local to them. There is a point you sit back and ask yourself. I mean, it's like self-assessment. Was it Socrates or who that said the unexamined life is not worth living? In the Bible, Saint Paul the Apostle also said that examine yourself to be sure whether you're still in the faith. So are you still in the race to becoming what you say you want to be? Are you? It's a moment everybody must come to terms with. You must stand before the mirror and take a long hard look at yourself. Now, the Nigerian issue isn't first of all about policies, about the constitution, about frameworks of government, about parastatals and about setups and structures. No, it's not that. The Nigerian problem is first about, are we even a nation? We may be a country, we may be a state, but are we even first of all what? Nation. There's no nation thinking in Nigeria. There's even the NYC that was brought up to try to help us come together has been largely bastardized. Somebody who was born in Ajokuta, schooled in Ajokuta, primary, secondary, schooled in Gogi for university, will find himself back at Ajokuta doing NYC. That's the truth. It's true.
Very true.
It's people don't want their children to go and. I remember when a mentee of mine came and said she did that she was afraid she would be posted to somewhere that me and that she was. I told her, well, just take a step of faith and go. Don't let anybody take money from you to influence your posting. She was posted in Adama. That was when Boko Haram was raging. She got to camp. They told them, okay, you can't stay in Adama. Fill a form and go back to any state of your choice. So NYC sent them back. But how many people are you going to convince like that? And should we really be telling, when you hear that this is the hotbed of terror, should we be telling people to pack their bag and go to the
Well, even indigenous of Adamawa posted Adamawa. Where would you tell them to go to?
To go. So we are. You see, I'm not from place. We are in India. Countries can be divided, can have issues. They will be factions, but sometimes there's an adhesive thread that still holds them together to say, in Nigeria, apart from the national team, the football national team, and apart from maybe one or two other, and corruption to an extent, I don't see any other thing that strongly holds us together. I don't, frankly speaking, I don't. The Igbo man has something against the Yoruba, who has something against the Hausa, who has something against the Nupe, who has something against the Job, who has something against the Benin, who has something against the Yoruba. This is not hard to build. It is difficult to build. You see, now the discussion is around the tax issue about the tax reform that NEC, the government, not government, said the president should scrap because the division principle. It will not just be that. When you scrap all these bodies and bring them into one, as one of these proposing, where some of their political stooges go and work. Those are issues that you must consider.
Yes, now. People, yes.
Because very few people go are appointed in this country on merit. A lot of them, the government nominates to this board, to that board, it's all covered. Look at the way the president has been appointing people. They will go to Oyo State and look for the deputy governorship candidate of their party that didn't win the election, and appointed him somewhere. They look, these people, you see, there's something about politicians. They are looking forward to winning the next election. Do you know that politicians are avoiding appointed ambassadors? You know that, right? Because when you make an ambassador, you lose touch with the local place. But they want to be circulating in Abuja. So having them in that circulation is a danger to the system. It is because there is expectation of what they are going to do. So anybody can fit in. But the moment we can sit down and say, we can become the fifth, but that will be taller than from them. Let's even say the 10th biggest economy in the world. If you decide on that, then you will see that when the government want to work towards such a goal, the whole dynamic begins to change.
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
But we don't have that. The Indian people have gone to the moon.
Very true.
Last year they went to the moon.
I'm sure we have not been going to. Let's see what that means.
If you look at what, and they are, see, India is very strategic.
Very, very.
If you look at what India has done, India is avoiding. Do you know that India is trade partners with Iran and Israel? And they are playing one leg here, one leg there, very delicate. India is with Russia over Ukraine.
Yes.
But again, India, but then Russia is the enemy of America. And then India is the enemy of China. But Russia and China are very good friends. You know, these people are carefully not circumcised. They're part of the world. They're not fighting trouble. So this is the thing. Nigeria must also sit. Our leaders must sit down very, very critically.
Exactly, because that's what I wanted to say.
Basically, share resources.
Everything rests on the table of the number one person.
Can I check this in?
Yeah, please do.
In the US, you have think tanks in Washington. Abuja does never have a single proper library. So these lawmakers and what intellectual fountain is feeding what they're even doing for us.
Lawmakers that use ChatGPT to write statements.
Apart from that, now this is the other issue.
Yes.
None of our universities is relevant to Nigeria now.
No.
Apart from people just going to school. There's nothing like University of Ibadan annual governance report or something as a parameter for governors or public sector.
They will remove the vice chancellor.
There's nothing. Please don't let us.
Thank you, sir.
So, just before we wind up, let's just take a look at one or two stories from the Disney newspaper. And big story, of course, is still on the Texas governor's backdown between refinery, do counts gains of crude for a naira sale.
Okay, moving on the top strip, Zenith Bank delivers remarkable triple-digit growth in gross earnings as PVT hits 1.0 trillion in Q3 2024.
And also, Shetima, decentralization of electricity will end the national grid collapse. Don't you think that's because it's coming from the north?
And you're centralizing tax
And
administration.
it's affecting them.
If you're decentralizing, decentralize everything. Yes. So that when people are collecting, because you're decentralizing electricity, you pay VAT on electricity consumed. So let it be consumption tax, so that as people are paying their bills, when you don't supply power to them, they know where to get you.
And
They don't look at Abuja, they can see, they know when you come to collect bills,
Yes.
then they know what to do to you.
And of course, just like what you said, if the issue of grid collapse, affected those in the southeast, would Shetima did have say to decentralization of electricity?
Let me
will help that.
Do you know what the minister was running? He was as if he was running everywhere. Do you know what he said? He said that they are working to make sure that power is restored to the north within a number of days. 2, he said that they are going to talk to the discos and this year to make sure that the days
That is out of light, yeah.
they will not be charged for it. I never had that happen in Nigeria. Because if you park into a new house built, no. You enter inside, there are
Outstanding bills.
in the start. Number 3, he said that government will also look at how to help the north democratize power base. So there's a lot of sun in the north that will. You see, it brought 2 things to me. This not anti-north discussion. God knows. I adopted a Hausa and I also have an Arabic name. My person adopted. I love this country. I have names in very all the tribes. It's personal to me. But you see, the thing is this. 1, is it because of re-election consequences that you are doing all this?
You will always have elections.
No, I know. Then number 2, you see, before these guys came to complain, how come a matter like this was not important to you? Whether it's not or something. And when I running up and down to say, even if it's a Jumputa or even if it's Sokoto or even if it's a Medugri or even if it's Lagos, no. We didn't see this sort of run up and down. Then number 3, it was all haphazard.
What exactly?
Haphazard now. You have light within days. Later on, they revised the timetable. Later, he said that they sent troops to go and protect the white. That they not also have solar, so they want to work on solar. It don't haphazard. What is your prior template for Nigerian power? Why the federal was even telling to their faces, we have signed power distribution and generation bill. You people have the power to generate and do. Why are you not doing it as governors?
Look at Abapa.
The bill that Buhari signed.
Abapa.
Why didn't they tell them that governors still have power to both generate and distribute? I not know anything about
Abapa is ring-fenced. So they got a license to generate and a license to distribute. So in other words, all they just need now is gas. Once they can get gas and they power their generation, then they distribute to the local governments, under their ring fence. So this 419 issue of putting power in the national grid,
come on,
they avoid it. So they just distribute direct to their people.
Yeah.
But the situation where everything you generate goes to the national grid, that is the biggest 419 in power in Nigeria today. So we need to, you see that TCN, Transition Company of Nigeria, should be disbanded.
completely.
It's not doing anything. There's no job.
But it's to us that, or to you on this table that feels it has no work, but to the government.
No, tell me what the work is it.
No, you are saying.
Like FIRS collecting VAT, when states have internal revenue boards.
Your leaders do not see it that way. That's what
That's why we are here. We must keep talking, no? As long as we are alive, we will keep talking and they will change. Because you know what? Look, people in government don't have all the answers. We admit that. That is why we must help them to look at issues more critically. As a journalist, anywhere I go, I spend personal resources on travel, not because I just want to, but sometimes I just decide to go into somewhere, mingle with the ordinary people and hear things, get conversations, and then I can better understand issues, and then I come out. A governor will have that luxury now, but I can move anywhere, I can decide to dress down and mingle with people anywhere to hear what they are saying, and then when you bring these things to government will say, oh, we didn't think about this like that. We've been talking about this TCN for many years, that this power should be decentralized. We've been talking about tax should be decentralized. We've also been talking about restructuring, that we should restructure to the extent that all states should control their resources, their natural resources, and then pay royalties to the federal government. I believe we will get there one day, such that Nigeria will be a better run place, and maybe we'll get to the point where if we want Nigeria to continue, fine. If we don't want Nigeria to continue, let us tell ourselves the truth that Nigeria is not working. Divide Nigeria. If we keep deceiving ourselves, look, we will just keep using paracetamol to deal with the serious.
Thank you so much, Emeka Madinago. Sorry, say Lavaka, let's just get your parting shot.
Yes, parting shot, especially on this particular story. NLC threatening indefinite strike over court seizure order on Rivers allocation, especially knowing this is your state. What do you have to say on this?
It was a political judgment, which amounted
unenforceable.
Yes, which amounted to miscarriage of justice for the court to have so ruled. I hope that whatever can be done is done to reverse the hand of the court.
All right, just before we draw our curtain for today, we have a developing story, and it's still on the Bobrisky issue, and we have it authoritatively from Vanguard newspaper, that is, that social media personality Okuneye Idris, widely known as Bobrisky, was detained and removed from an Amsterdam-bound KLM flight late Thursday night by immigration officials while attempting to leave Nigeria. Bobrisky shared the incident on Instagram, alleging that he sustained injuries during a confrontation with officers and accusing the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, of orchestrating his detention. Bobrisky's trouble started, of course, on October 22 when he was stopped at the Seme border while reportedly trying to flee the country. Gentlemen, let's talk about this just before we draw the curtain for today. Do you think the EFCC has the right to hold someone who is about traveling out of the country? Of course, remember, they said he is a person of interest. Do you think it still stands in that particular?
Yeah, but what interest? If you say person, what interest? And again, the concern being that now they've taken him in, going by his Instagram post saying AFC has detained me again, they've arrested me. He was showing bruises on his arm.
Yeah, I was wrong.
I could say that from a moral point of view, I have little sympathy for Bobrisky. But as far as the law goes, I'm wondering, what exactly are they holding him for? The other time he was picked up as a border. Of course, he had been trying to flee the country. Okay, then they took him to what's it called, to CID in Panti, right? Or was it Alagbo?
Yes.
Alagbo. He was taken to Alagbo. Then later they said he was not feeling well. He was taken to the hospital. That was the last we had. The next thing he was, I think, who released it from the hospital? How did he get out and book a flight and he was trying to run away? The only thing I think, the only grasp for his look, the committee report that investigated his time in prison clearly has grounds for malfeasance, as it were. So if he was complicit, then let's arrest and charge him. But don't arrest him today, you know. We don't know what is being kept back for. Then you won't charge him, then there's nothing, and then I think somehow within this time there's negligence. The people who kept him at Alagbon later let him go to the hospital. What then happened between the hospital and his attempted flight out of the country? You know what I mean? So let's investigate that. And if you're charging him, charge him to court. Like I said, I have little sympathy for his lifestyle, but I don't think it is worth it to maltreat a fellow citizen. I don't think it's proper.
Thank you so much. Now, Bobrisky is not on the watch list. Neither is he a wanted person for him to be handled that way. Can we say we have a law in this country anymore?
Well, yes, we do. With the arrest at Semeboda and this regime, although the immigration and the airline KLM, they've not spoken.
Yes.
So we can only take it on the score of what he alleged. But one, he's an ex-convict. So that makes him a person of interest. Yes, an ex-convict. Makes him a person of interest. You know. Two, the fact that, he has been stopped twice, from leaving the country, means that he's on the immigration's watch list. And on both occasions, he was stopped by immigration. So now he's blaming the Efcc. Yes, security agencies from time to time, they put people's names on the watch list. Not necessarily for anything, but just out of an abundance of caution. So I think he should actually go to court to fight for the enforcement of his fundamental human rights, to which he has a right to that. Let him fight for his fundamental human rights, freedom of movement, then so that even though he's an ex-convict, but he's not a dangerous element. He's not a dangerous type. He's not a terrorist now. Yeah. What they said was that he debased the national currency. He didn't kill somebody now. So he should be granted. After all, there is a lawyer who was convicted for killing her husband, stabbing her husband to death in Ibadan. And then within a short time, we heard her name was put on a list of those granted state pardon. She was granted a state pardon and she fled the country. She said to the other UK or somewhere, she fled the country. So how come a lawyer, somebody like that, was allowed to leave the country, and then you are now disturbing Bobrisky? So and there are convicts who have been allowed to leave the country. Yes, we can name them. They have been allowed to leave the country. So why are you focusing on Bobrisky? It's also part of the national, indolence that we have. Agencies that should spend time on serious issues, they're just pushing one person so that they will show their guys that they are working. It also shows that immigration, they have their priorities wrongly. Their priorities are upside down. Why are you focusing on this guy? Terrorists are moving all over the world. There are dangerous people moving all over the world. Politicians are using, people in office, look at the House of Reps 2 days ago, said that the original ministry should shut down private hangars. Why? Because those hangars are being used for money laundering. And let me tell you, when governors charter flights abroad, governors have this immunity, and then they carry diplomatic baggage because they carry diplomatic passport. Do you know the contents of the things they carry around with them? Whether they have drugs in those things or whether they are carrying huge sums of cash, then you don't deal with those ones. You are dealing with one small fry. Please, they should leave the guy alone.
Thank you so much, Emeka Madlago. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so because of course, criminal justice administration should not be reduced to people's personal vendetta against others. It now looks to be like there's an unseen hand behind the scenes trying to make life difficult for Bobrisky. I want Bobrisky out of the scene. Not to have him killed, but he does not stand as a good influence. It's a gender thing, like it's a cross-dresser. We don't need this.
Nigerian politicians also who are thieves, looting the treasury. They are, all of them should be kept out of the system.
But yes, but
they're all a bad influence.
yes, but when there's no law, there can be sin, there can be a crime. So Bobrisky, if we feel there's a case against him, let him be
Good.
Yeah, but otherwise, don't because today you may be Bobrisky, tomorrow it could be somebody that you know.
Very well.
So we don't want that happen.
Thank you.
True, and unfortunately, we are forgetting the message and concentrating on the messenger. Of course, remember the issue on immigration, the correctional service and the EFCC cases labeled against them. We've totally forgotten about that and concentrating on Bobrisky. That's so very unfortunate. But that's just about the size of our segment for this particular show. And when we return, tax reform bills are dead in the water as National Economic Council tells Tinubu to withdraw proposals from the National Assembly. Stay with us, please don't go anywhere. Still Enterprise Television.
Yeah.